"You're not coming to the wedding," that's what Mom texted. No warmth, no hesitation. "Chloe's in-laws don't want you there." I stared at the message, then let out a small smile. So, status wins over family now? I typed it back and hit send. After that, I canceled everything, including the venue deposit they didn't even realize I had paid for. They were completely unprepared for what I was about to do. That was all she wrote, "You're not coming to the wedding." Just that. No apology, no explanation. Just those blunt, colorless words against a gray text bubble. I read it twice, then once more. My thumb hovered above the screen as my coffee sat cooling beside me. I finally typed out, "So, you chose status over blood?" and hit send. No exclamation mark, no smiley face. No hint of sarcasm either, just honesty. Then, without giving myself time to feel anything, I opened my laptop, logged into the wedding planning portal and canceled the venue. The booking was under my name, paid for with my own card, and they never even knew. The best part? That deposit. Completely non-refundable. I closed the laptop, leaned back in my chair, and stared blankly at the wall. I wasn't angry, not even hurt, just still, like something deep inside me had shifted positions and was now watching everything from a distance. This wasn't new, they've done it before. Not as obvious, not spelled out in bold, but I noticed it in their looks, in the way they laughed too hard at certain jokes over dinner, the way they forgot my birthday 3 years in a row and blamed the group chat settings, the way Chloe so effortlessly became the daughter they had always wanted. And me? I was just Ben, quiet, handy. I helped them pick the dress shop. I negotiated the first catering deal. I tracked down the perfect Airbnb for the guests flying in. When Zach's parents complained that the Colorado Lodge felt too rustic, I went out and found a high-end alternative, lake views and all. I even built their save-the-date site, used my Canva account, still had the login saved. But now, I was a problem because Chloe's dad didn't vibe with my energy, because I wore black to brunch, because I dared to ask what happened to the $3,000 meant for catering, and didn't drop it just because Mom said, "Trust us." They always leaned on me, right up until they didn't. Now they were assembling their perfect little picture frame family scene without me, smiling on cue. Filtered happiness, no Ben, just the ones they decided mattered. I took a deep breath and opened the shared folder. Chloe and Zach wedding planning. Clicked through every file, contracts, vendor lists, photos. Then I deleted every single document I had uploaded, all 63 of them. Renamed the folder. Good luck without me. I didn't say a word to anyone. No heads up, no warning. Let them find out when they try to confirm with the florist. Let the panic hit when the photographer ghosts them. Let the confusion grow when the venue follows up. This reservation has been canceled by the account holder. They thought I'd stay quiet, grin and bear it, like I always have. But this wasn't about a wedding. This was the final fracture in something that had been cracking for years. This time, they handed me the scissors and expected me not to cut the string. Well, they wanted me gone. Wish granted. What they didn't expect was that I'd take everything with me when I left. And I was only just beginning. If you asked them, they'd say I've always been the dramatic one. Overreacting, too sensitive, always reading too much into things. But let me show you how I got that label. Let's rewind 6 months ago, Friday night. Chloe called me in tears. Zach had just lost his job. Their downtown apartment was 3 months behind on rent. They tried negotiating, but the landlord wasn't having it. He wanted everything, no delays, or else he'd file for eviction first thing Monday. I didn't blink. I wired over $3,800 from my savings and told her to reach out again if she needed help. That was the third time I rescued them that year. The first was when Dad screwed up his retirement account and needed $5,000 to avoid getting penalized. The second? When Mom forgot that the bachelorette Airbnb was on my credit card and let the girls trash it. I documented everything, spreadsheets, screenshots, not for revenge, just so I could reassure myself that I wasn't crazy, that this quiet, constant drain of my time, money, and emotional bandwidth was real. But it wasn't only about the money. It was how they treated me afterward, like I was the help, the guy backstage making things run while they took the spotlight. One time, while I was patching gutters during a storm, Dad joked that I should look into being a house husband. Since I clearly wasn't man enough to earn a real living, they all laughed, even Chloe. Later, when I told Mom it bothered me, she said I was being too sensitive, said Dad was just old school. Old school? That same man once locked me out of the house in high school because I came home wearing eyeliner. But yeah, maybe I was just being soft. When Chloe got engaged, she FaceTimed me. Mom and Dad were right behind her on the couch. All grins and cheers. They had helped her plan the proposal with Zach. Even helped him pick out the ring. Me? I got to find out from a screen, should have recognized the pattern. But part of me still believed that if I just kept showing up, kept helping, maybe they'd eventually see me, maybe I'd finally be part of something real. I paid for the engagement shoot $600, built their wedding website, customized the invites, covered the deposit for the venue because Mom's card was being weird. Brick by brick. I was building their dream while they handed me scraps and called it appreciation. Then the texts started rolling in. First Aunt Megan. Hey, I heard you're not going to the ceremony? Is that true? Then Uncle Jeff, did you say something to Zach's dad? Just wondering. And then came the post. A photo of Chloe and Zach standing with my parents in front of some charming barn. All glowing lights and smiles. The caption, so proud of our family. Can't wait for the big day with all the right people by our side. The right people. I wasn't even tagged. I scrolled through the comments. One of Chloe's friends wrote, "Is Zach going to be there? He was always so funny." Chloe responded, "We're keeping things small, just people we trust. Just people we trust." I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat there combing through receipts, old emails, messages where they called me selfish for asking to be reimbursed. And that's when it clicked. I was the only one in that entire family who ever gave without asking for anything. And I was the only one who never got a single thing in return. A week later, I got a group message. "Hi, family. Can everyone chip in for Chloe's bridal shower decorations? Ben, since you're so good with websites, could you throw together an RSVP page? Hugs and kisses." I didn't respond. 10 minutes later, Chloe messaged me directly. "Can you just do this one thing without being passive-aggressive?" So I did something else instead. I logged back into the venue's portal and submitted a refund request for the $2,500 deposit. It was technically non-refundable, but I'd added wedding insurance when I booked, just a little checkbox nobody noticed. They refunded 90% after I filed under family conflict. Then I logged into Canva, every RSVP card, every seating chart, every welcome sign, deleted, gone. I created one last file and titled it, "Ask Zach's dad to fix this," shared it with the entire family. And that's when everything blew up. 3 hours later, Mom called me in full meltdown mode. "What are you doing? Do you even realize how this makes us look?" I said, "I do, that's exactly why I'm doing it." Then Dad called, skipped straight to yelling, "You've always been jealous of Chloe. That's what this is. You can't stand her having a better life than you." I held the phone away from my face and hung up. That night, my phone didn't stop. Chloe posted a cryptic Instagram story. "Betrayal always comes from the people closest to you." Mom followed it with a photo of Chloe crying. Caption, "Nothing hurts more than your own brother trying to ruin your special day." Messages poured in, cousins, family, friends, a few texts asking if I was okay. Most just wanted to know why I'd ruin her wedding. I didn't answer a single one. Then I got a package. No return address, yellow envelope. Inside, a printed screenshot of a private message thread. Chloe's group chat with her bridesmaids. She was laughing. "We'll get Ben to pay for the cake too. Just guilt him with the whole 'you're the only brother' line, works every time." Another message. "Zach doesn't even like him. Said Ben gives him the creeps lol." One more. "He won't be at the wedding. I'll make sure of it, watch." Taped to the top was a sticky note. Handwritten. I recognized the writing. "You deserve better, K." I didn't know who K was, but I would. And when I did, everything shifted. Because K had more than screenshots. K had recordings. And the second I heard the first one, I knew exactly what I was going to do at Chloe's rehearsal dinner. The venue was a vineyard about half an hour out of the city. They called it rustic luxury. I called it a wine scam with fairy lights hot glued to tree trunks. But I showed up. Clean suit, calm face, steady hands. Because I wasn't there to eat. I was there to bury this performance. They were mid-toast when I walked in. Chloe was laughing. Zach had his arm around her. Dad looked stiff. Mom didn't look at me at all. They didn't expect me to come. They were setting me up to be the villain. The bitter brother who couldn't let it go. But I wasn't bitter. I was done. I stepped right up to the front, tapped a glass. Conversation stopped. A few people laughed nervously. Chloe's smile fell. I pulled a small speaker out of my jacket. set it on the table, held up a flash drive. Zach stood up fast. What are you doing? I looked him dead in the eye. Giving you exactly what you deserve. I pressed play. The speaker came alive with Chloe's voice. Laughing. We'll get Ben to pay for the cake too. Just guilt him about being the only brother, works every time. The room cracked wide open. Someone gasped. A fork hit the floor. But I didn't flinch. Another voice, another clip. Tyler doesn't even like him. Said Ben gives him the creeps lol. Tyler turned ghost white. Chloe lunged for the speaker. I stepped between her and the table. Sit down. It wasn't a suggestion. Then I played the last clip. Chloe again. Low, smug, he won't be at the wedding, I'll make sure of it, watch. I hit pause, looked around the room. Any questions? Tyler opened his mouth like he was going to say something, then closed it again. My father jumped up. Red-faced, you think this is appropriate? You think? Sit down. I didn't yell, I didn't even raise my voice. But he sat, first time in my life he ever did. Then I turned to Chloe. I spent over 11 grand on this wedding. I built your website, haggled with your venue, paid your florist's deposit. I did it because, stupidly, I thought this was what family meant. Chloe was trembling. Mascara running like ink on wet paper. You don't get it. No, you don't. You never did. You didn't want a brother, you wanted a walking wallet. I pulled out the folder I'd been carrying. Hard copies, screenshots, receipts, emails, the PayPal transfers, the invoices they'd hoped I forgot. Even the group chat where Chloe called me the family's free wedding planner. I handed it all to Tyler. You still want to marry her? He stared at the pages, said nothing. Then, from the back of the room, someone stood. A woman in a gray coat, badge around her neck, phone in hand. Hi, everyone, sorry to interrupt. She walked forward with steady steps. I'm Jenna. Ben and I used to work together. She turned to Chloe. I also run a digital forensic agency. Ben asked me to verify some files. She held up her phone. That audio? 100% authentic. No edits. No splices. Pulled from a WhatsApp backup synced to your old number. She smiled slightly. Don't worry. I have the metadata. Chloe's mouth dropped open. Mom gasped. Is this a joke? Dad barked. Jenna didn't even blink. Not even a little. Then came the twist. Tyler turned to Chloe. Stunned. You told me Ben said those things to you, that he threatened you, that he was unstable. He held up the printouts. You lied. Chloe reached for his arm. No, Tyler. Don't touch me. And then the whole room cracked. Aunt Rose stood up shouting. Someone knocked over a wineglass. Mom tried to speak but choked. And through it all, I just stood there, silent, calm, watching the whole thing burn. When the noise peaked, I raised my voice one last time. I'm not coming to the wedding. You already made that decision. But now you get to do it without my money, without my help, and without my silence. I turned to my parents. You cut me out the second you realized I wasn't playing your puppet anymore. So I'm cutting the strings too. And just as I turned to leave, Tyler spoke. I'm calling it off. Loud, clear, no hesitation. Chloe screamed. A raw, high-pitched sound that ripped through the room like broken glass. You can't do this here. Oh, I said, he just did. Then I walked out. No dramatic soundtrack, no slow motion. Just the sound of their world collapsing behind me. I didn't head home, didn't even hit the freeway. Took the back roads north, quiet, empty. A month earlier, I'd signed a lease on a little cottage tucked away in a forgotten patch of the state. Population 600. One diner, one gas station, nobody cared who I was. That was the whole point. I paid 6 months up front, no forwarding address, no online trace. Just stillness. I kept the phone off for the first 3 days, didn't check email, didn't speak. Sat on the porch with black coffee and watched birds argue over territory none of them actually owned. I didn't feel victorious. I felt free. No tightness in my neck, no guilt, no texts pretending to be love, just leading up to another money request. On day 4, I went into town and enrolled in something I'd always been too embarrassed to chase. An archival preservation course at the local college. History, old newspapers, faded letters. For once, I was surrounded by things that kept records honestly. No manipulation, no hidden strings, just fact. I started volunteering at the county museum. Cataloged black and white photos. Repaired an old microfilm machine. And I didn't care that no one noticed, because it was mine, quietly, completely mine. The messages started about a week later. Old Gmail inbox linked to my emergency number. Didn't open the first few. Didn't need to. The subject line said enough, can we just talk? You went too far, we're still family. Then came the blocked calls, dozens. I left the phone off. They weren't reaching out to make peace. They wanted to reset the board. The evidence didn't scare them. The silence did. Because for the first time ever, they weren't in control. 3 weeks later, a court notice showed up at my old apartment. Turns out, my father had tried to sell part of the family property. What he didn't know was that I'd locked the deed down 2 years earlier. After he accidentally tried to remortgage it behind my back, I left it in legal limbo, just sitting there, waiting, and he walked right into the trap. Triggered the clause himself. The deal collapsed, the buyer backed out, and he got flagged in a fraud investigation. Not because I sabotaged him, because I didn't save him. I didn't write a blog post, didn't upload a video expose, didn't send screenshots to the family group chat. I just disappeared. No birthday calls. No last-minute bailouts. No, maybe next time. And that was what finally broke them. Because narcissists don't fear consequences. They fear being ignored. They fear a spotlight with no audience. One morning, I went to the post office, just picking up a small package I'd ordered. Behind me, someone was on the phone, whispering. Yeah, I heard Chloe's fiancé walked out right before the wedding. And her brother? Disappeared, took all his money with him. I didn't turn around, didn't explain, never made a statement, never corrected the story. I just stayed unreachable. No address, no number, no access. They thought my silence was weakness. They never realized it was a choice. A clean, surgical kind of goodbye, not spoken out loud, just made real by absence. The kind of absence they couldn't spin or guilt or manipulate. They don't get to call when rent's late, when a card declines. They don't get to pretend everything's fine just long enough to ask for another favor. Because there's no us anymore, just them. And a mailbox that says, no message received. You know what's funny? When you finally walk away from the people who built their whole lives on top of yours, they don't fall right away. They just freeze, like someone hit mute and they can't find the volume button. That's what happened. After the fire, after the rehearsal, after the silence. They still thought I'd come back. Because I always did. But not this time. I changed my number, and not just a SIM swap, new carrier, new country code, no backup, no trace. I closed the joint account Dad linked to just in case. Redirected my bank mail to a private digital vault. Updated my medical proxy. Removed every single family name. Even changed the emergency contact on my license. From mom to no one. They don't know where I live. They don't know where I work. They don't know if I'm in the same state, the same country, or even if I'm still alive. And that eats them alive. A month ago, I went back just once, not to the house, not to the vineyard. I drove past the wedding venue, the one I canceled. It was empty. A for lease sign hung crooked on the gate. Someone had tossed a dead bouquet on the gravel. Felt right. I rolled down the window. The air smelled like rain and old regrets. Before I left, I walked to the mailbox at the gate. Dropped in a small envelope. No return address. Inside, a printout of the last wedding invoice I ever paid, with a sticky note on top. Said, thanks for nothing. I don't check the old email much now, but sometimes just for fun. I peek at the inbox. One subject line. Please just talk to us. Didn't open it. Another. We don't know who you are anymore. That one made me smile, because for once they were right. I'm not the one who paid their bills at 3 a.m. Not the emergency contact. Not the wedding planner. Not the invisible sibling. Not the guilt-ridden son. I'm just a guy now, with a new life. One they can't reach, can't twist, can't rewrite. Last week, I got a new mailbox installed. Metal, lockable, clean. One of those secure drop boxes. Once something goes in, it doesn't come back out. The tech asked me what name I wanted engraved on the plate. I said, none, just a message. So now, on a little brass rectangle beneath the keyhole, it says, this box does not accept apologies. And the silence I hear now is not loneliness, it's peace.